I see it, Barry. This should be a very dynamite show.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of In Studio. I'm your host, Ted Perch, and today I'm joined by Lucinda Arnold, who has a exhibition of her paintings here at the Easthampton Media Gallery, which I encourage folks to come and see. And we're talking this morning about her work and about her work. So, welcome to the program, Lucinda.
Thank you, Ted.
I have obviously seen your work here, and so we're here to talk about that. So, why don't we cue up the first slide, and we'll get right into it. Cloudscape, landscape.
Yeah, well, it's like the following of the different colors, and this is some of the early work that I did outside of school, and I was practicing with inks, like the pens, like the ink blocks.
Yeah.
And just testing out like what I could do with that.
How the colors blend and or not, and run into each other.
It kind of just really shows like this is where, like this has been an ongoing theme. Like I just really love to follow like the textures and the lines and have like different things where you feel like maybe you're near a lake and then you're near a stream and then you're in a mountain and then.
It's atmospheric.
Yes,
as they say.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, there's a question I wanted to ask you. You mentioned on your statement that you grew up in the Pacific Northwest, Washington State, Oregon.
Yeah.
Around
In
there.
my youth, primarily in Washington State. Yeah.
So I was wondering, coming from that part of the country where it's mountainous and the landscape is pretty much entirely different than it is here in New England, how much does that play any part in your imagining your work because you're from that environment?
Yeah,
Because I see I see a good mountain range and so forth here.
Yes.
It may not have anything to do with it at all, but that was a question I had.
Yes, when I was really little and we were like in the Yakima Valley.
Oh yeah.
We could see the mountains off into the distance.
Yeah.
And that made a huge imprint on me as a child. I loved it, and it was very much a sense of comfort whenever I could see that.
Yeah.
And but I did spend a lot of time further east in Washington.
Yeah.
And it was a lot more drier, it's just different.
It's more desert landscape.
Yeah, it's totally different than the west side of the state.
Yeah.
But as a child, when we would drive up from California and back and forth, and visit family on the west side of the state, I was just mesmerized as a kid. It just felt like fantastical every time we drove through the mountains.
Oh yeah.
And they had all the little waterfalls that you could see from the road.
Right.
And so as a kid, you're bored, you're driving, but you see all these trees, and pretty soon your brain is just imaginative.
You
off.
Yeah, that's right. You imagine elves and whatever,
Exactly,
forest creatures and so forth.
Right. But there, it's more here. I do that all the time here.
Yeah.
But when I was a child, I just really loved that, the adventure of being in the woods and the moisture in the air, and it was just really, really nice.
Yeah.
And we did not live in that environment very long. I think I spent just over a year living in the mountains.
Yeah.
And on the western side of the state.
Well, that's long enough to make an impression in your memory of.
Well, yeah, that was as a teen, and it just, I just felt so grateful all the time to have the opportunity to finally be where I wanted to be. So this is kind of a nod.
There's a certain sort of sense of scale that's involved too. Here in New England, what we call mountains are, other than Mount Washington, you put them against the Rockies or anything out, the Cascades or the mountains out west, it's like, it doesn't really compare. These are low hills rather than mountains, but there's just a sense of scale that I was wondering about, because I've seen other artists who hail from the West, and their sense of dimension is pretty much different. Everything spreads out. Everything's much larger, spacious. So, and that's I see that here too. I love the colors. Now this is watercolor?
No, I think
or
that's
ink?
also inks. That's before I started in the watercolors.
Ah, cool. All right, number 2. Ooh.
Do you know what this is?
No. Suet.
It's encaustics.
Oh.
So close.
And that
because
is, no, encaustic
in
is a whole different.
I mean, just in the sense of like you say suet, I think fat.
Yeah, I was
it's-
going to say that looks like a bar of soap, but
Right. So it's part of the. So that one's on a smaller piece, like
Yeah.
a thinner piece, and it was when I was experimenting with encaustics.
now what is encaustic?
So it's like a beeswax resin mix,
Oh, okay.
and then you melt it,
Yeah.
and you melt each layer, and
I
so it's
see.
this layering upon layer.
Okay.
And then people that are really good at it, like you can get like a side view, and you can see all the layers of colors.
I see. Okay.
And for me, I get super excited about
Oh, sure.
that.
Yeah, sure you would. I've never worked with it, so and I only hear about it a bit. So that's the first real description that I've
Yeah.
sort of ever had. Some encaustic sounds like something's going to burn you, you know.
Right, and it's a little heavy in the air
Yeah.
when you're doing it, so it's not really great for the lungs, I don't think,
Oh, great.
because I have asthma, so that's like why
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't stick with it. But on this one, I
This one, yeah.
incorporated some fibers, some
Yeah.
yarns, and that one. It was more of like I've got to do something with my yarns because I'd built a Navajo loom and
Oh,
was
really?
attempting to do,
Yeah.
but the cat would get to it every time. And with my ADHD and counting skills, like it was just
Oh,
I
those-
finally was like, we got to find another way.
Oh, those cats, they just stick their noses into everything.
Oh, I know. You could
are
spend
you
like an
doing?
hour getting it all like warped and then.
Come on, walk there and say, oh.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, that's a cross section.
No, that's
No?
that's
the top?
That is the top on that
Ah.
one.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, my encaustic skills aren't
No,
the
but
best. But yeah, it was really
in
fun.
terms of the color and there's a lot of texture in there.
Yes.
The little
And-
bumpy thing, you know, there's a lot of texture there, and there's a lot of it leads you to me. It kind of leads you if you look at it long enough. You start
It's the same feel.
Mm-hmm. before you know it, you're inside and
Uh-huh.
you're looking around
Mm-hmm.
and you think, okay, this is a nice place to be, or where am I really, or what
That-
is this?
That's exactly why I'm drawn to encaustics because it has that ability to make you feel like you can go in,
Yeah.
like going into Jello or something, like, and you
Yeah.
know that there's little
Yeah,
things
yeah.
in there.
It's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I basically put that on hold until I could get a studio where I could have proper ventilation.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't try this at home, kids.
Yeah.
Or if you do it outside, you know, like you say, that's that
Right.
ventilation. Number 3.
So
Okay.
yeah, so when that went off, I started working more with resin.
Uh-huh.
So I used this product that was supposed to be a lot safer, and that was one of the pieces from like my resin stage.
Well, this looks like a satellite image of part of the Earth. I mean, this is really, to me, all of a sudden, it's like a landscape.
Yeah.
There you have this some sort of continent. What you're up above, looking down in the clouds, and the colors are great. I love the lime green is really stands right out.
Thank you.
And that kind of color, to me, always grabs you, grabs me right away. Like, bing, and in you go.
Yes, it's one of my favorites. You'll
Yeah.
see a theme, the colors.
Well, you could always ask of, you know, abstract art. You always ask, well, what's that all about? And I guess it's about your internal journeys. That you know, like you say, you're moving through this to discover something about yourself.
True. Yes.
And you're the one who's in the driver's seat, kind of. But you lay this down as a portal or an entry point, and then you're inviting the observer
Right.
on a journey. Whatever the journey is for you personally or individually, you're setting this up. I mean, you have your own, as the artist, you have your own statements you're making about yourself, perhaps. But at the same time, you're creating this entryway for everybody else to come and see what, or not, you know.
Yeah. And on the spiritual side, I think it's a bit of bringing that non-judgmental look of being like in space,
Yeah.
in the present, and just enjoying that journey,
Yeah.
holding space for that journey, and not judging,
Yeah.
right? Just
Yeah, well, that's what you want to do. That's what you want to accomplish. Because it's whatever judgment you make, it's in your own head.
right.
But whatever I'm seeing in this that it pertains to my life, from what I think, has nothing to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. That's how it works. It's a neutral point.
Right. It's the beauty of art.
Right. And you can go wandering through this forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have people like yourself and other creators who do this in a variety of different ways. Either it's visual, or it's performative, or it's whatever. And that's what happens. We need that, I think. You know,
We do.
as individuals or whatever. That's probably why it's been so art has been so not predominant, but has been there all along.
Right.
Even from the primitive, cave paintings, they served a purpose.
Yeah, I believe art is a way of building community,
Yeah.
because in it you can see some reflection that you can relate to
Right.
at some level,
Yeah.
which is beautiful. My story is different than your story, but if you create something and I look at it, or even like this program, right, it makes me feel heard. It helps me to not feel alone.
Right.
Especially when I hear you have these conversations with people, and it's important to me. It makes me feel comfortable, and to know that there's other people that have these thoughts and are interested.
And then we're all connected somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the old term was collective consciousness. Somehow or other, humanity, we have a collective consciousness. We can't pin it down, although we can, in a way, with artworks or creative works. We can say, this is what it looked like at that moment, or this is what it sounded like. But we have this collective consciousness that we're all a part of. And we tend to forget, I think. We tend to go off and think we're just individuals. But artwork and so forth just brings us all back to that one place where we're all connected, and it all speaks to us.
And that brings me to the importance to be honest within yourself when you're creating your art. As long as you're honest, like you can hold
Right.
that very uncomfortable space of being honest with yourself, and you bring that to your artwork.
I think people would recognize.
That's what people connect with. Yeah.
That's what they connect with. We recognize honesty, and we recognize when something is not honest.
Yes.
But the honesty comes through right away. You say, yes. Yeah, that's it. Because anyway, I go on and on. Ooh, that's very cool.
Yes, I did a lot of experiments.
I'm thinking all of a sudden, I'm thinking wisteria.
Right?
Yeah?
Yeah, I get that vibe too.
Yeah.
I love wisteria.
Yeah, me too. But I don't have any growing. But now is that ink or what?
This is acrylics.
And is there a title to that?
No. This is
This is just it. This is it.
Yeah, this is it. I went through my portfolio for you.
Oh no, it's wonderful. It's great.
I was trying different techniques, and I like abstract work.
Yeah.
And it takes a while to start to develop your own style and
Yes.
something that you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And when we talked about the honesty, it's like with that, when I go back and look at some of my work, I'm like, I can't believe I painted over that.
Well,
Because I'm coming with fresh eyes.
right. At the
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
that's what it was, and then you come back to it, and you're a little different, and you look at it differently. You say, well, yeah, I'm gonna change it a little bit. So I had a conversation with someone a while back. We're talking about abstract art, and most people don't get. To me, it's like there was that famous clip. Someone said, I could do that. Look at a Jackson Pollock. He said, I could do that.
Have
What's
you
so
tried?
special
Like,
about
it's
that?
so hard.
And what I learned was, by looking very closely at a Jackson Pollock, that it's what he's done. He's constructed this layered experience. And you don't have to look very closely, but if you just sort of stand and look at any one of his paintings, you begin to understand exactly what's going on. And it's not just random. It's structured. There's these layers that have a certain effect and another layer that has another effect, and it all adds up to, it takes a while to kind of, once again, you have to wander through this. And just like this too, there are layers here. There's the blue and the green, and it's very deep. To me, you just go deep. Zip, there you go.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I will show you some that I didn't do the layers on.
Yeah.
But I do work in layers. I come back to a piece and we have a new conversation, and that's really how it works for me. Yeah.
You go back in a year. Someone else told me that he was working on a piece and he stopped. He said, "I just stopped. I couldn't do any more." Comes back a year later.
Exactly.
I did more. Okay, now was able to finish it, or at least bring the work to a different conclusion. Before it was like, it was not like there was it was a question, but he needed an answer to it. It's kind of like, well, it's not done.
Yeah.
So that's what happens. You just leave things for a while. If you run out of your imagination stops, and you go as far as you can with a certain thing and leave it. That's good advice sometimes.
Yes.
Just leave it alone. It'll come to you.
Right.
Or it'll develop. It'll evolve.
For sure.
So sometimes when you push things, it makes it worse.
Yes, and that's what I spent a lot of time doing, is really just pushing.
Yeah.
I wanted to find out where the boundaries were, like, of too much, because I'm not generally comfortable with comfortable. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I want to make things just a little bit further.
Yeah,
and
of course.
so I just kept working things and overworking things because I wanted to try to understand when I'm just this side of the line and when I've gone too far.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where all the layers started to develop. And that process was just, I wanted to be like, okay, but.
That's fine. But there's more, and I can't put my finger on it right now. I'm just not there. And I think that's to be expected. You're just not. You're pushing the boundaries of, if it's visual, you're pushing the boundaries of all of your boundaries internally, and sometimes you're just not there. You got to push it a little further. You'll get there. That's the process. That's what makes it. So the word I'm trying to say is it makes you want to do more.
Yes.
Just keep at it.
Yes.
And sometimes with abstract or any kind of paintings or creative stuff, sometimes what you remove is just as important as what you bring to it. Like you say, you go a little too far. No, I don't like that. Scrape it off, and then it becomes, oh, wait a minute. Removing that particular piece or whatever part of it, it's like opens up another door.
Right.
So it's just like goes on and on and on. It goes left, it goes right, it goes up and down. There's no floor. You just keep wandering around and creating this, that, the other thing as you move along.
Yes, and working with acrylics, you got to be a little careful with that, because I do a bit of like washing off and coming back, and I just need there's still to be integrity in the work.
Yeah.
So I do work with other mediums to try to keep that integrity, even though I do a lot of washes, and but there's a lot of, like, you really touched on exactly what I tend to do, is I like to put things on there and then I got to take some things back, and it would be a lot easier, I think, with if I worked in oils. If I worked, before it
they stay
fully
wet
dried,
longer. They stay wet
so I
much
could come
longer.
back and have that real live experience.
And blend it or just scrape it off and start all over again. Yeah, acrylics tend to be tough that way because you have to work quickly, and you sort of have to know what you're doing, and how it's going to turn out, perhaps, because once it sets, oops.
And I like to know how the different mediums will age over time.
Right.
And having this time has helped me to do that. So I have moved away from certain practices where I felt like the integrity of the image, it just didn't last long enough that
Yeah.
I felt like that was something I would want to share with somebody. Like I would like them, if they connect with the art, I would like them to be able to keep it for a reasonable amount of time and have it in good shape.
Yeah, well, that's all part of, I guess, the technique toolbox of an artist. Or you have to know, you have to learn and know how to use these things, and how to, I guess maybe you have to know something about chemistry, perhaps, or at least that sometimes reds fade, blues fade. What are the characteristics of the media that you're working with? Because, like you say, you paint one thing, a year later, it's like, what happened to the color? Where did it go? Well, it's just the chemistry. So you have to be in charge of that. Yeah, and that's what you learn at art school, perhaps, or through experience.
I've spent hours and hours just studying the different descriptions on the different pigments and what their history is and how they last. And so when I would buy a lot of my early supplies, I spent a lot of time researching and understanding, the integrity of the color.
Well, good for you, because you're an educated, become an educated artist, and what you're putting out there is going to last, because you want it to last.
Yeah.
I was at, excuse me, several years ago, we went up to, my partner and I went up to Oleana in the Hudson River, where Frederick Church's house is. Now, he was a Hudson River landscape painter, and some of his were magnificent works.
Right.
But some of them have faded, because there's one that's in the house that they have a print of, and you look at the original and you can't see anything of the detail, because it's all the oil paint has all just faded and turned dark. So you can't predict all of that, and it's 150, 200 years ago.
Right.
So that's a long time. But when you look at some of the things from the Middle Ages, those are as fresh as ever.
Yeah.
So you have to know the properties of the material, the media that you're working with, and what's going to happen.
It is
So
nice.
good.
It is helpful.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, I think remembering that life is fragile is a part of art as well. And so sometimes our art is fragile, and you create something that lasts a day, lasts a moment, lasts less time.
Yeah,
but as long as you're aware and you know
Right.
what this conversation is. And I think it's also very encouraging as creators that we realize we are important in this moment and what we can bring.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we look at things from the past and we think, well, it's all been done. And it's been done so well, and I can't meet those standards. So why does my voice matter? Well, your voice does matter.
Yeah.
Because we don't have them today. And their artwork might be here with us today, but maybe it won't be here in 50 years.
Right.
And so your input matters. And I think that's really important.
Yeah. Well, that's right. It does matter, and being an individual sometimes can feel very small. We're very small in this very big universe, in this very large, not competitive so much, but just this hustle at this very pressured sort of world, and we have big voices, big art, big music, big voices everywhere, and you look and you think, like you said, I'm very small, my voice, it doesn't matter. My little painting here is, what does that matter in the scheme of things? Well, perhaps it doesn't in the scheme of things, but it does. But here it is.
Yeah.
It's been brought forth for, flowers bloom and fade in a day or several days. What does that matter? It only matters because it's part of the flow, the ebb and flow of the energy of the universe. That's really all there is. And each of us gets to throw in our little piece. It lasts for a while and then it goes away. But that's life. you know, we're going to be gone. We're here now. We're going to be gone. Our parents were here. Now they're gone. So everything changes all the time.
Right.
And since we live in this hyper competitive world now, where everyone wants to be famous. You want to be an influencer.
Why do you want to be famous?
You want to be famous. You want to be an influencer.
Yeah.
You know, Andy Warhol put a parentheses around it years ago. He said we're all going to be famous for 15 minutes. You know, the real art is the art of time.
Right.
So everyone gets to be famous for 15 minutes. So get used to it.
Yeah.
Some things will last longer. Leonardo, or some of the giants in wherever they are, science and industry and art and so forth. Some of those people will last. Edison, and it doesn't matter. All of those people, they made great contributions, and history has made accounts of their stuff. But there are the other ones, those of us who make a difference on a local level.
Yes.
You know, you have an exhibition here at Easthampton Media in this building in Easthampton, Massachusetts. Well, people will come and see, and they will have a takeaway, and you don't really know what they're thinking and what they're going to take away from it. Some folks will come in and say, "Yeah, well, okay, wonderful," or some people will say, "That gives me an idea. That painting reminds me of something, or it gives me an idea," and they will go away, and something in their head has been, a switch has been tripped a little bit.
Right.
And they will go away thinking, yeah, that's got me going on something. And that's all you want. That's the miracle.
It is. And speaking to art, when one of my trips to California, I believe it was the Pismo Beach or the 21 Mile, we stopped at a gallery, and there were these photographs, and they were black and white photographs, but they were all of the human body.
Yeah.
But they were presented in such a way that you thought they were landscapes.
Uh-huh.
And that left a really big imprint on me. That and Ansel Adams, of course.
Yeah, well, you know, we all have this, we all have the ability to tweak things like that. A friend of mine here in town once told me, everyone has art within them. Doesn't matter if you do masterpiece paintings or you paint the rocks in your driveway white. That's all a creative expression that you bring, that comes out of you into the environment. And you make these little statements.
Yeah.
That's it.
The greatest art is our relationship with ourselves,
Yeah.
and with others. It takes work, it takes creativity. When you think about people that have the greatest influence in your life, many times they're a teacher,
Yes.
they're a friend, or a stranger even, a grandparent, or
Yeah.
your parent. And you think about that, did they have to do something special? No, like their innate value to you,
Right.
and
You
being willing
recognize-
to be honest with you and
Yeah.
reach out and create that art with you, in a sense of
Right.
relationship, means so much more than anything else, you know.
That's right,
Yeah.
because those relationships affect you some way, and you move on. You take, like, once again, you take whatever that is, you internalize it, and then you apply that through yourself in your own situation. You know, there are people who are. There was I don't know the quote now, but angels without wings. They just show up in your life, or you know, and they come, and they appear, and you share whatever needs to be shared, and then perhaps they're gone, and then you move on with this additional
Right.
with this additional awareness, and that you do something according to that new, you're on a new path kind of thing.
Yeah, so I was trying to create something for my house, right? So I worked on these little pieces, and surprisingly enough, my family really liked this. They're like, "Oh, can you make
yeah.
more of this?" And I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no layers. Do you know how, like, how much courage it takes just to, like, be definitive in emotion and just go with it,
Yeah,
you know?
sure.
So yeah.
Well, you're leaving yourself wide open. Wide open to everything that's there.
Yeah.
Good or bad or indifferent. It's like, okay. But you have to be like, you gotta be, it takes a bit of courage to say, doesn't matter. It will matter, but I will use whatever information comes to me in that moment. No, this is really cool.
Oh, I'm glad you like
It's very simple, but it's very bright and boom. It's the kind of thing that you would, in a room, that would bring a lot of light into a room.
Right.
You know, if it was a wall painting. For some reason, when I first saw it, I thought, oh, that looks like a paper towel. You know,
Oh yeah, because
sometimes
you
the
can see the
designs-
texture.
Yeah,
on
the printing you get on
canvas,
paper
yeah.
towels, which shouldn't be there because it's all dyes and stuff, but it's like, oh, that reminds me of that. And then and those two, that's great.
Thank you.
Ah, cool.
I love textiles,
Yeah.
and so I would be very happy to be a textile artist someday. Like that would be cool.
Well, textiles have their own depths, you know. They just
Right.
really do.
Love them. Yeah.
Yeah, I could get into that too. There's several
It's
things.
a whole
that-
nother thing.
That's a whole other thing, but it's basically kind of the same. Everything has a certain depth and it brings you along with it. Okay. Next. Is that upside down?
No,
Okay.
it can be whichever direction you want it to
Well, I
be.
was going to
But
say, all of a sudden I thought, well, that's great, but it's kind of,
yeah. So I just wanted to, share an example of like as I was trying to create texture on the canvas. This is one of the early things that came out of that. So I did not know about cultural appropriation when I made this. I've since learned that maybe I shouldn't have done certain things, but I had learned about how do you say it? The cave paintings.
Lascaux?
Yeah. I
in
had
France,
just
yeah.
heard about it, right?
Yeah.
I never did a study on it or
Yeah.
anything like that. I had heard about it, and then I also was inspired by, they would have these rock paintings in the Yakima Valley. I don't even know where I was at, like
Yeah.
Toppenish, Yakima, that I'd seen as a kid. And they always kind of stuck with me. And so I had been doing these studies on the different native symbols. And I had gone to this community art event, right? And there was a gentleman there who is a shaman, or was a shaman, and he also made his own drums.
wow.
And he spent time with me
Yeah.
because, like I said, I can be very particular, and so really allowed me to listen to the different sounds
Yeah.
of the drums. And it was such a special experience for me. And I wanted to be able to do an exchange with him, that just heart exchange. And so I'd created this art in hopes of beginning an exchange for a drum.
Yeah.
And I created it, and then I got all nervous
Sure.
and embarrassed.
Yeah.
And
I'm not worthy.
yeah,
I'm so not worthy.
exactly. And I mean, these symbols all meant something to me at the time, and like my handprint was really important. Like all these things were very, very important to me. And when I finally had the courage to reach out to him, just to give it to him, because I still feel I have it in my home. It's not mine.
Right.
It was created for him.
Right.
And he had just passed away. And so it's a really good lesson of, you know what I mean?
Don't
wait.
Don't wait. Just do it, and
Yeah.
whatever the reaction is, the universe will take care of that. But
Yeah.
well, it's
There's a lot of layers there.
yeah. Well, not wanting to get into the whatever politics might be involved, and that's not what we're doing here. There are archetypal forms and symbols and animals and so forth. You're allowed to do that in whatever shape, or form you can. And the cave dwellers in Lascaux, they beat us to it. Whatever, 50,000 years ago, however long, and some impossibly long distance ago. Well, that's what they did. That's what they had. They had their hands. They figured that out. it's that's part of the human chain of experience. From them, they were sending that forward to us. So I don't think other than if you want to get into specific things, on some basic level, we all share this. The horse and the dog and the prints, we all have hands.
Yeah.
That's your handprint. That's your handprint. Great. Doesn't mean it's taken away from anybody else. That's your handprint. So, and you were giving this as a gift to someone else. So, anyhow, so.
Yeah, and I've always been attracted. My sister and I both are very attracted to rocks.
Yeah.
And I love texture, and I love to like touch it, and
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
just to look at all the different colors I just get lost even looking at a rock face, right?
Oh,
just
yeah.
in general.
Oh, yeah.
And so for me, it felt very much like it was from my inner being, and I've always felt this kinship, since I was a little girl with living close to the land
Right.
and very primitive aspects. And so for me, it was part of like this journey that we talk about of growth that
Yeah.
we can do with our art, which for me, this was like a touch point,
Well, I that's what I was thinking. I mean, I'm talking too much, but that's what I'm thinking, because you have animals. Now, Rosie's not here with us. She's in the other room, but you have what I think is a dog and perhaps a horse and other symbols there. A dog looks like a dog paw print, and on the left here looks like there's two people. A couple of people there that resemble to me a couple of people. So you're telling you're part of your life story here. You're bringing this is you, and there's something that's not sharply into focus, but a lot of things aren't. A lot of things about our lives just aren't, and they stay that way. They're there. You can't touch them anymore, but they're there. So this is to me. Seems to me entirely personal. And you were sharing some part of yourself to this man who was sharing some. It was a mutual, with reciprocal trade. But I think you got it out there in the universe anyway. So
I did, and I still received a gift from him.
Yeah.
I had a dream one night where I heard a drumming through the dream,
yeah,
and it meant so much to me, and I felt like he opened the door to that.
yeah, he did. You got to believe in that, because it's true. Things like that are true. It's not your imagination. It's true. People don't make stuff like that up because they've had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
You recount experiences that you have because you had them. That's
Experience is in our mind a lot, so really you
That's
can't
all,
go
that's,
wrong.
that's all there is that we all exist in this quantum flow of energy and whatever it is. So things like that happen, and they happen, and we know they do. And sometimes those kinds of things make us a little uncertain. They make us a little afraid, because we're so used to this three-dimensional world that we have here. Anything that comes from beyond that, we have to be a little cautious about it. You don't want the saber-toothed tiger jumping out of the closet and, that kind of thing. But those things happen.
Yeah. And I think the next piase
Okay,
kinda
the next
overlaps
piece.
a little bit. Oh, no, it's further on.
Oh, this is, ooh. So this is I would say this is a cityscape, eh? Or just trees. Just a landscape.
It's abstract.
Yeah.
So it can be what you want it,
It can
to
be what I want it to be.
But yeah, I feel like it does reflect a night sky and water, like there's a reflection of something in the distance.
And the colors are very vibrant. The blue is just bam. I react to blue very, very dramatically.
This might be a mixed media piece, the
Yeah.
way it's presenting. It could have some pastels over the top.
Well, pastels
Actually, this
too.
might be a pastel work.
Well, if it's oil pastel, that's why I'm seeing it the way I am, because I use oil pastel
Yeah,
pretty
it's
much.
not oil. Yeah,
And the way the color comes out,
that cobalt.
and like I said, blue. I am particularly sensitive to blue, so it's like
Me too.
boom.
I have to be really careful. I can't, there's certain colors of blue I can't use that much of because it's eliciting too much.
Yeah,
But I really like the gold. It was an experiment with the gold flakes.
yeah, I had a story. I was at the Yale Art Museum years ago, and they had a Mark Rothko painting there. It was the blue, it's a blue rectangle. And I'm standing there looking at this thing, and I'm starting to vibrate because of the blue. Like I said, blue affects me. And I was telling my daughter about it, and she says, "Yeah, it's just blue, Dad." I said, "No, it's not just blue. It's blue."
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay, Dad, it's blue.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. But so that has this effect on me. It's very boom right there. Okay, wonderful. Next.
There we go. That was what I was
Here we
thinking.
are.
So, do you recognize a character in there? I should have looked up the word.
It's
name.
the Ghost Dancers.
Yeah, but it's the ghost one would be the musician in the group.
Yeah.
It's a traditional character. Yeah.
Yeah. Cocopelli? Yeah, Cocopelli. Oh, he's my favorite.
Yeah, yeah. So like he's there, but he's there in spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's always there. Because Cocopelli drives the creative spirit.
And this was,
This is,
if you look in the smoke cloud, you
Yeah.
can see that you can see people together.
yeah,
and so-
in a circle.
Yeah, and part
Yeah.
of my study that I really got into when I was in this period was I really love the symbol of the
Yeah.
interlocking as you go, like the friendship symbols.
Yeah, yeah.
So for me, that'll probably come out again more and more just because I really internalize that.
Yeah.
I love the idea of peace, but also life is a struggle. So in a lot of the works that I was doing at the time, there's a lot of symbolism that would come forth.
This is really wonderful. I love it.
Oh, thank you.
And I think it's the dance.
I love drumming. I love fire. Fire. I love the like. It's so much things that just resonate with me.
Yeah.
And for me, this was one of those works that I just had to get it out.
Absolutely.
Like it was just on my soul. Like, maybe
Yeah.
I don't have anywhere where I can go and participate in this experience,
Yeah.
but I can at least express it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the, this is the way we deal with, we were talking before about T.S. Eliot has this concept of the still point in the turning world. So we conjure up this still point at the center of the circle. The fire is at the center of the circle. We dance around the fire. We dance around because that's where that we're moving around this still point, and we know that there it is, and we're honoring that. And and we all do that. Every human community across the globe has a tradition of some sort of dance, and some sort of dance around a fire or something in a circle.
Yeah, and I probably was quite influenced by. I have some native recordings.
Yeah.
And they reach me really deep.
Well, you're
you're
part native,
I
aren't you?
am, but
Yes,
we
I
just don't
wasn't
have
gonna-
the proof.
No, I wasn't. Yeah,
But
I knew that, but I was like, I didn't want to. I don't know how
Yeah.
to quite ask that. So
yeah, but I would listen
So this
to
is
these
part of
native
your-
songs, and I'd usually do by myself in my home.
Yeah.
And then I would dance to that, and that for
Absolutely.
me was therapy and a way of connecting to my fellow humans that can relate to some of. I don't I try not to get too esoteric about stuff, but we do carry some of the trauma of all humanity,
Yes.
but also particularly of our ancestors.
Yeah.
And I have learned to connect with some of my more dramatic, ancestors, like when I was able to be in Europe and study about that, and then when they got to the more primitive times, I was like, okay, now I can connect, like I can make a whole of myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like it just, sorry, I don't know where I was going with that, but it was just like, it was, for me, I just went through this time period where I just had to make a stronger connection
Right.
with this part of me that's been yearning and crying
Absolutely.
and wanting to be seen, wanting to be heard, wanting
Right.
to have life, and not really fitting in with
What's going on
my
around
community,
you? You're right, yeah.
like,
You're a displaced person in a way.
well, yeah, because I, this gentleman that gave me like the time of day,
Right.
and also another shaman, a native shaman, meant so much to me.
Right.
Because I've reached out to people and
Yeah.
said, I'm trying to connect, and
Yeah.
they hear that all the time, so they were like, yeah,
Yeah, okay, we're all trying to connect. Well,
and which
yeah.
I understand, but
Yeah.
when you're a person that has felt a lot of displacement in your life, a lot of disconnect with family,
Yeah,
to have something
absolutely.
that you can turn to and start to have that connection, it's so important.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
it's beyond. It's not. It's beyond being important. It's vital to your being.
Yeah.
You have to. That's a part of you that you have to like you say. You have to integrate that,
Yeah.
because otherwise you're never going to be a whole person.
And, I might not feel that connection with like the humans that are on the earth at this point. Like maybe they're not
No.
willing to like give me that acknowledgement. I have come to a point where I'm fine with that, because I can connect with the past. I can
Right.
also connect with the energy that was and the messaging that I have within me.
Right.
That is really important. And for me, I was able to go to one of the Anunnaki museums
Yeah.
in Utah.
Yeah.
It's a very pivotal experience for me to go.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know that's not probably my people, but like to go, and I walked in and I had such a spiritual experience.
Absolutely.
And my family, they're like, okay,
Like, what's going
Mom's
on
having
with
her
you?
thing. And
Yeah.
it was this moment of, it felt like this string from adulthood back down
Yeah,
to childhood,
absolutely. Yeah.
and being like,
You make him that connection. You were
We're-
home. You were being.
It was
you
home.
Were, you were brought home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I think that's really important, because
Wow.
as people, we create these boundaries with each other.
Oh yeah.
They're created, they're in our mind,
Right.
and they're not necessary, but they're there, and we have to live with them. And luckily, once somebody has passed on, they can't hold that boundary anymore to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, there are people in our lives that can't, for whatever reason, can't allow themselves to be a part of our lives.
Right.
We've had people like that in our lives. But once they've passed on, you no longer are feeling that energy from them, and you decide what connection you can have with
Right.
that person.
You can reclaim. You might be able to reclaim some of that.
Some of it,
energy,
right?
some
It's
of that
not the
connection.
same.
It's not the same. No.
But you can have a resolution.
Right.
A place where now you can move on to, and it's not something that's a drain.
Well, like you just related, that you felt as though you had come home.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, there you were. Finally, there you were.
Mm-hmm.
Where you perhaps always were, but were displaced from it. But you make the journey back to that still point in your life, that
Mm-hmm.
your life revolves around this one place, and it's home. This is part of that homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it made me, feel fuller and ready to go on.
Oh, absolutely.
And now I don't feel that sense of loss that I had
Right.
before. Yeah.
No, because you made that effort, or you were drawn to that. If you want to get mystical about it, which is fine. All along, you were being drawn back to that spot. You didn't really know it all the time, but you were being called back because you're the missing daughter, or the missing sister, or whatever, and you were being called back because they need you, and you need them, and you went to that one museum where those things, some of those things were. Boom, there you are.
Yeah. It felt like understanding, reaching a place of understanding.
Yeah.
And it feels very deep. It feels very calming.
Oh, absolutely.
And it feels like undergirding, like a foundation.
Yeah. I grew up in a foster home.
Right.
I spent a lot of time in the past several years doing genealogy because I felt the need to know. I was displaced from my family. A lot of things that my brother and I weren't told. Whatever, for whatever reason they had. So I've spent a lot of time doing genealogy on my family and my children's families, because it matters to me. It's always mattered to me because I always wanted to know where I came from. Who are these people? Where did they come from? They were strangers to me, and yet they were part of my life, and they wouldn't talk about themselves.
Yeah.
People tend to do that, especially in past generations, because they emigrate. Their stories are full of struggle.
Yeah.
There's a lot of struggle. There's a lot of heartbreak. There's a lot of just hard stuff that they didn't want to keep reminding themselves of. So it's the same sort of thing. I needed to know who they were as best as I can at this point, because they didn't leave much behind. And once I sort of got to a point where I've learned enough, I can pass this on to my children. What I know, they will know.
Yeah.
And it's really, really very important to do that, because so many of us are, in our own ways, totally displaced and out of sync with each other and ourselves.
Yeah.
It just happens. Your parents' lives my parents' lives were such and so. My life, because of that, because of what happened to them, my life has been such and so.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping not to pass some of that confusion onto my descendants. But so as we go along, you try to make corrections, and you try to resolve things, and you try to make peace with certain things, because you have to.
Right. That integration is really important.
That's really important. That's a lot about, and that's that's what creative activity can do for you. You go to a museum and you see these artifacts, and all of a sudden, boom, there you are. That happens to me a lot. I was in a Inuit museum in Winnipeg a couple of years ago, and all of the soapstone carvings, and they speak to me, and I have no idea why. I'm about as far from being an Inuit as you can get. But something about what's embodied in those pieces just speaks to me all the time. I have a whole collection at home of fetishes from Zuni and Navajo people and so forth, just because they speak to me. It's like, I don't know, I don't understand it. I don't need to.
It's humanity.
Right. All I need to do is, it's there for me to experience, and it's imparted to us out of love. It's like, yeah. So.
Yeah, for a sensitive person to go to a large gallery or museum, or I went to DC, I feel like I'm still recovering. That's been a few years.
you will always be in recovery.
Yeah.
That's because it's a process that you allow it to continue, because it'll take you places where it'll take you.
It's still,
it always will.
Yeah.
And this Kokopelli I have a painting of, that's my favorite spirit, because he's a spirit of unpredictability and creativity. And he's a jokester. So he can screw you up royally.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's there as a creative spirit because
Yeah.
it keeps things bubbling along.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right, next.
Okay, so this one's a little blurry because I blew it up so that you can
Yeah,
read
it's
it.
okay.
But this is a very personal piece, and I just put it in here
Yeah.
and this is just a close-up of part of it, because for me, my art journey has been about integration and healing,
Yes.
right? It's creating something that can be seen,
Yeah.
in some senses be heard and understood,
Mhm.
which is very vulnerable. And
God, yeah.
yeah, I've tried it with other mediums, but to find something that you can somehow work in and feel like you can do it in such a way that, people will receive it well.
Yeah.
Art has been a way that I could do that. And so this is part of one piece that will hopefully be a part of a show someday
Yeah.
when I complete it.
Well, yeah.
But this particular piece was about the messaging that me as a female, and also I had ADHD. I didn't know it when I created this. I didn't know, I didn't have a label for it.
Right.
Other than, this is just me. I'm so sorry. I'm consistently inconsistent. Like that's my.
I'm so not worthy.
That's just, I can't be anything different than who I
Right.
am, And so I created this image, and it has like, these are actually things that people have said to me
Yeah.
at one time or another
Yeah.
that really hurt me or had an impact.
Yeah.
And so it has like, I'll read some of it for you because it might be hard to read, but it has like, get over it.
Get over it, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, I hear that.
Or I love you,
But.
or don't be like that.
Yeah, don't be like that. Yeah.
Like really tiny up there is like, the first thing I noticed about you is your breasts. People think guys think that's a compliment. And it really
No,
isn't.
what guy thinks that's a compliment? Oh my
I've
God.
heard it more than once.
Jeez.
Of course, I appeared differently before I breastfed my first child. But repent more.
What? Repent more.
Yeah, you're imagining things. You're overreacting.
Yeah.
Oh, really damaging. He can have you, as they throw you off. You're like, just decide to be happy.
Yeah, okay.
Really? Why don't you just
that's right.
decide?
You're just deciding to be unhappy. It's your, yeah.
Like, I totally decided I want to be,
Yeah, so
have
get over
these
it.
challenges.
Just get over it.
Exactly. I'll be here.
when you pull yourself together.
Yeah, I'll be here when you pull yourself together.
But only then, not
only
now.
then,
when
yeah,
you might need some support.
Yeah, exactly. Or
when you got yourself together somehow or other, I don't care, but I'll be over there.
right. Sit still. I never could sit still. I do much better now. I've had practice in the temple and things like that. But I was always like the wiggle worm. Wiggle butt was my nickname, But sit still. If you
If you didn't want it, you shouldn't be
Oh.
so.
oh yeah, if you didn't want it, you shouldn't be so beautiful.
Oh, Jesus.
This is damaging stuff that women hear all the time.
This is Me Too stuff.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you're too skinny, you're
God.
too fat, like whatever it is, and it's just, and that's only part of the picture, but like that was like really big for me.
Oh, God. Of
Only
course.
now a lot of people have seen it, but only a few people have seen this ever.
Yeah. Well, I can.
And yeah.
Being a guy, being a man, I can only imagine how hurtful this can be. I suppose men get the same kind of stuff from each other. Men can be really hard on each other.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it's.
You're supposed to be able to take it, right?
Yeah, well, you're supposed to be able to take it, and all this judgmental stuff, and like once again, I can't really imagine what it's like to have to internalize these kinds of things.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think
But all humans suffer, right? It's
yeah, well, we're only in this. I think we're only sort of beginning to kind of resolve these kinds of things. We've let it go on too long, and it's still problematic.
right.
You know, the Me Too movement really called this stuff into attention. We're still trying to work our way through that. It's there. It does, just because you don't hear about Me Too anymore doesn't mean that this kind of shit doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And women are victims of this kind of thing, and they shouldn't be. But you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have had to live with this kind of stuff.
But you know, part of it is having conversations like these, right? People don't always recognize or care how damaging words can actually be.
That's true.
Yeah.
Plus, it's well, we can go a whole
Yeah.
sociological discussion about the division of labor and the sexes and all that other stuff, and particularly these days, the roles you have to assume or that are created for you. You know, men have to be the strong, silent types and not talk about their feelings, and you know, women are supposed to be okay with this kind of crap.
Yeah. They're responsible for everything that happens to them.
Yeah, that's right. It's all your fault.
It's all your fault.
Yeah.
You were born a female. It's all your fault.
We don't want to get into the other part of the world.
Not really great.
There's a
but
whole other part of the planet.
this could like open up discussion for a very long time.
Very long time,
But,
yes.
yeah, I'm hoping that I was encouraged by one of my children to eventually show this. So I am trying to put together a body of work to be reflective of like my personal journey, but also I'm hoping that the show will be able to incorporate some way of community discussion and connection. Is what
I
I'm
can't
really
imagine
hoping.
that any woman or man who sees this wouldn't be affected by it, or wouldn't have some sort of reaction that's by seeing this, say, "Holy Christ, yes."
Yeah, my ex-husband did walk in and see it, and he was like, I think it took him a while to get over.
Yeah, well, you
He
know,
was
that's
like,
what it
what are
takes.
you doing in here in your art room?
Well, that's what it takes.
Yeah.
I am shedding all of these tears. I am shedding these layers of defensiveness and cruelty and judgment, and it goes on from there.
Because we store these things. Like we
Oh,
have a little
yes.
box that whenever anybody says anything to us that had an impact, we just kind of put it away.
Well, not only that,
And we think it's ours to carry, and it's
right?
not.
You think it's yours to carry, and it affects how you present yourself to the world.
Yep.
If people are telling you sit still, that means you're being admonished. Anytime you have some sort of
Yeah.
urge to kind of move around and sit
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
you know, it's or whatever, you know, oh, get over it. You hear that a lot. Oh, just get over it. What? How? How do I get over these things?
That's
I
right.
don't know. Just get over it.
I love it when we can, like with the arts, whether it's media or whatnot, right? When we see people just be vulnerable and express their emotion, their feeling, it means so much to me, especially if you are feeling a bit, you know, confined to yourself.
Yeah.
To be able to see, like one of my favorite movies, I think it's like A Journey of 1,000 Miles or something like that, and this actor is so overcome by sorrow that he is crying, like bawling, like we probably have never seen a male do. And it's so bad, like snot is just like going down his face, and just like, and for me that meant, it was almost cathartic for me to watch him like be able to just let it all out.
Right.
And when I see somebody that's like children, I love to watch children, you know, when they're really active and they're running around and they're free to express, and I love that because you're getting to see something that as adults we're trained to not express anymore, right? We're not supposed to be running around and hopping around and jumping and, you know, so when I go on a walk with my dog, sometimes I'm dancing in the park as I do it, and I'm like, I
Absolutely.
don't care.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't
I need to
have to
do
care.
that. If I have to sit still in church for 3 hours. Then,
3 hours?
Yeah,
well,
like I used to go to the Mormon church, so
Wow.
you're trying to sit still for 3 hours. I got to tell you, for me, it was really, really hard, and I was exhausted when I would come home. And it's just little things like that we don't always know about each other that might be a need that we have, which is, maybe I need to move more than you, maybe I need to talk more than you.
Yeah.
It's okay. There's space for all of us.
There has to be space for all of it.
Yeah.
There just has to be, because we're not all alike. Everybody's different. We're connected, but everyone is different. We have different personalities. We have different metabolisms.
Yep.
We're only beginning to kind of give some credence to that, because it's just gotten to where people have had enough of being judged and marginalized and otherwise dealt with in negative ways.
Yeah.
Just, enough already. Enough is enough.
Well, I feel like when you're an adult and you've gone through different things in your life and you realize the clothes that you wear, or how your hair looks, or how your body looks, or your car that you drive,
Yeah.
you've had enough experience that you know that it doesn't say who you are. Like, you are more than your appearance.
Well, we put a lot, but
We put a lot on it because we have to,
we
right?
put a lot on it, yeah.
Because we have to be able to judge, right, for our safety.
Well,
But
yeah,
it's not always what we think it is.
right.
Like,
Our capitalist society puts us in competition with each other for
Mm-hmm.
every little, tiny little morsel of behavior.
Yeah.
The car you drive. Oh, if it's a red sports car and you're a guy, you're projecting some sort of virility, or whatever. So it's artificial, and it's somehow damaging to people. It just is. And we know it is, but somewhere along the line, we make up these rules for society as a whole as to how we're supposed to behave, because it's in order to keep order.
right.
But all this other stuff goes on because people just can't help it.
Yeah.
They can't help themselves.
But if you can just kind of keep it on the side note,
Yeah.
that you're like, okay, well, that person didn't ask for that mental illness, or
Right.
they didn't ask to be on steroids. Like, they needed it to stay alive,
Or this woman didn't ask to be treated this way.
Yeah.
You didn't ask to be the recipient of these kinds of comments, which,
Yeah.
do nothing but drill holes in your head and make you feel marginalized and make you feel, well, there's a word for it, but, like,
Small.
well,
That's a nice way to put it.
that's a euphemism, yes.
Lesser
but-
human.
Right. And well, thank you very much for
Yeah,
for showing
you're
this,
welcome.
because it's really brave of you to
Yeah.
and to have a discussion
I
about
had it in and out.
Well, no, you get a little bit of honor for this, because it's really courageous.
Thank you.
Oh,
Watercolors.
wow.
So
Very nice.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
They're perfect.
still in progress. I just, I can't wait to get back to it, but that was an example of watercolors.
Yeah, I think it's a kind of a well-worn sort of thing that when you're an art student or you're studying drawing, the hardest thing to do is to draw a circle or to draw a sphere.
Yeah, and this might be a little out of proportion
No,
when I put it on here, but I was able to actually take a watercolor lesson, and it was we were doing pears, so I just kept working on it and working on.
There they are.
I have so many images of pears.
That's the one.
Yeah.
You got it. You got it
Yeah.
just right.
And my teacher, she's really gives me something to look forward to someday, when I get back to watercolors, to be able to do what drew me to her work, but it's the beginning.
It's not easy to work with watercolors.
No,
That's where having this special paper comes in.
Okay, yeah.
The absorption rates and
Yes,
the
yes,
pigments have to
yes.
be richer.
Yes. So I did. This is not a vegan work because I was using Sennelier watercolors, and they are made with honey.
Oh, come on.
But I gotta tell you, it was really fun.
Oh.
It can be really fun to get a little particular and kind of choose
Yeah.
something to work with, and I love them, and I love working with the different pigments and mixing. And once you've studied enough pigments, you start to understand why you're not getting the colors that you want when
Yeah.
you mix them.
Right.
And so, and also I really like to mix my own colors.
Yeah.
So trying to just work from a palette where they're primary,
Yeah.
like they're more to the source, and then I can mix from there. That has been like the greatest joy with watercolors.
Oh, you're going all medieval on me here.
Oh, I know. And then I'm like, I want to like make my own.
You got the crushed
But,
up lapis and the.
But you know, safer to my health is just to buy them, and yeah.
Yeah, but you
It's
know.
so much fun. Just enjoy your medium. You know, pick the one that you
Yeah,
want to
but
do.
if you're
and
into creating your own pigments,
I would love to create my own.
That's almost a lost art. Well, probably not.
I did finally get the Mueller, so
Yeah,
I have the setup now.
Yeah.
So I just need to get in it.
Oh,
yeah.
that's good because then yeah.
And then my palette will be smaller because I will work more with like local pigments when
Yeah.
that happens, and I love that, so I'm excited.
Yeah, cool. Well, this is good.
I need to live a long time.
Yeah, and working with honey, that's a whole. That makes
Yeah.
it's not running. It's sort of
It's different.
flowing. Well,
It's just different.
yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, so following watercolors, I just had to experiment. I was doing my own education at home, and so I use the watercolors as my base,
yeah.
and then I'll do, start with a sketch, then do my
Yeah.
watercolors, and then I'll start like with the pastels.
That's right.
And so this was one attempt.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
I love oil pastels because of the color and
This is
how bright they are and how they're so luscious.
so. This is not oil.
No,
No.
that's regular pastel.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So
Okay.
there you get into.
I'd have to see it. I'd have to see the painting.
It's a deep hole if you get into pastels,
Oh,
because
yeah.
you have
Oh.
hard pastels and your soft pastels,
Oh,
and
yes.
varying degrees in between both, and then the different pigments, because they are harder to mix.
Yeah.
So if you, depending on you, I'm sure that you get more joy from being able to let go, doing that a bit, but also certain very rich colors, sourcing those, getting those just right, like it becomes its own obsession. So I always have to be careful of those obsessions because I love accumulating, and so
Yeah.
so now I have what I need. I just need to get in the studio, and with my my skills have advanced since this. This
Yeah.
is I would love to see what would happen if I tried to do this again.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah,
It's really fun.
what work that I do, I really have moved over to oil pastels because they're you can push it
Yes.
and it's soft
Yeah.
and
It's the touching it and
it's
getting the whole
luscious.
textural.
We were talking about this a
kinesthetic.
while ago. Like it's so luscious, you want to just squeeze it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And you
And
start. You just feel it in your face. You feel
Yeah.
it like everywhere. You just
Right up my arm. It's like
Yeah.
and you smush it. And,
Yeah.
It's just a tactile, physical experience, which sometimes is part of what art is about. You just get in there and you watch Jackson Pollock, bam, bam, and he's crashing around, and every other artists too. I mean, you get physically into it.
Yeah. And the first stuff that we looked at with the ink blocks.
Yeah.
Also, they were blocks.
Yeah.
I'm holding with my fingers,
Yeah.
and I'm working with it, and then adding water to that, and then
Yeah.
so having the layers of experience for the artist, right?
Yeah.
It's not just always layers of colors; it's layers of experience.
Right.
Like at one point, I'm physically in touch with it. At another point, I'm using an instrument between me and that. You
Yeah.
know, that's really cool part of the journey.
It can't all be in
Yeah.
your head, You can you can have a cool kind of outline, okay, and then you have to jump in with your whole body and just No, it's wonderful. This is really, really bright and.
And this was meant to be a little bit of a place in Idaho, but it feels
I
so
know.
relevant to Massachusetts too. So
It's relevant to
it feels
everywhere,
really
you
good.
know. Landscape is landscape, and yeah, it's great.
But yeah.
Really, really good.
Thank you.
All right.
So this is also pastel, so I just wanted to throw that in there. So
Yeah, apples.
yeah.
It's hard to do that. It's hard to do still life.
It is,
Because the forms are the spheres.
Yeah. But I had like my lights, you know, I had my whole setup, but it just really, you know, having done so many apples and so many pears
Oh, God.
with the watercolor,
Yeah.
like that's one, you have like
Yeah.
the acrylics and the watercolor and the pastels, they're different, right?
Yep.
So when you do with acrylic, you can add your dark colors and then you add the light colors on top, right? Like you would an oil painting.
Right.
But then when you work with watercolors, you leave the white space to shine through because
Right.
you can't really bring it back. You can add a gouache, which isn't technically watercolor, to bring back in the white or something else. People do that all the time.
Yeah.
But with pastels, you know, I started with the watercolor, which then I could go back and, you know, I can pull the lights. Then are the last thing that you do
Yeah.
is your lights and your
Yep.
darks, your darkest darks. Yeah. So I'd
Terrific.
love to get back and do this again too, because like I've learned so much just from observing all the artists here locally.
Yeah.
That I would love to like try it
Yeah,
again.
that's terrific. Ah, this you have this
Yeah.
out in the lobby there.
Yeah.
It's called
Spark.
Spark. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, this has got there's that deep dark band there that just for me it's the ocean and it just it's the
Mm. Yeah.
deep dark North Atlantic Ocean. It's almost like my favorite artist is J.M.W. Turner.
Oh.
Turner's landscapes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He was a man who was so far ahead of his time artistically that you look at his paintings now, it's like this
It's
guy
amazing, isn't it?
it's utterly amazing. But this is
And
in
that's
that
acrylic.
vein.
You know what I mean? Like so many times we think we can't get the diversity with acrylic. Like I think it's harder.
Well, you have to know how to work the medium. It takes practice, but this is this has got great depth. Boom.
Tons of texture.
Tons of texture all over the place, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's got, well, like I said, for me, it reminds me of the ocean in the wintertime, deep, dark ocean, those, whatever.
Yeah.
I can put whatever I want
Yeah.
to put in it. It just reminds me of certain things. And the gold, too. Yeah, that's great.
You know, I love silver, but when it comes to my artwork, gold looks so much better.
Oh, yeah. Nothing like it. Yeah. Oh, here we have, this is,
One of the Reflections series, so that's out there.
yeah.
Yeah, this was the first piece that I finished, and you know, nothing but positive from like my family and everything. There, everybody's like, "Can I have that?
So,
I
yeah.
want that one." And I'm like, "Well, I made
This?
it for
You want-
me, you know."
Yeah, you want this? Ah, this is nothing.
But it was the first time that I felt like I was actually kind of, I felt really good about it. Like I felt like, okay, we can go on from here and we can do
Yeah, well,
things.
you've captured, there's a lot of motion here. Reflection, whatever, but there's a lot, this is like running water. So there's a lot of motion in there.
Yeah.
And once again, there's a lot going on. You got those spots and dots everywhere.
And what I like is it has just about every one of my favorite, like I love the combination of like orange and blue and
Yeah.
green. And like, I love teal, so I hate to have blue without teal. But
Yeah.
also I'm very big fan of fuchsia, but that pigment doesn't last very well.
Yeah, some do, some don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is my compromise. There's no fuchsia in there, but it's for me, it's a balance. So it helps me to feel calmer when I look at it.
Hello.
So that one's also out there.
This was also in the gallery, yeah.
Yeah. So this is a pretty large piece, and I don't remember its first iteration. Oh yeah, I think I'm pretty sure what it is. So I was really inspired by a documentary that I had watched on Tibet. Like I think it was about the horsemen,
Uh-huh.
and they had the Tibetan prayer flags.
Oh, yeah.
And so I had a mountainscape that was more of a desert mountainscape, and I had the flags going across. And at the time, it was kind of my call out to the universe
Yeah.
that
Right.
I needed some help. And since I had created that piece, I've had some transition in my faith. I've left my marriage. I left
Yeah.
my home, my state, like all these really huge changes.
Yeah.
And so then after I came here, I was like, we need to come back to this and make this image a journey image.
Yep.
And so I brought back in the flags, and of course, looking out to see, where are we headed? Like,
Yeah, this is where I am,
We're
but
willing
we're-
to
that's
see
right.
and be seen, and
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of healing in here.
yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I thought, that a lot of healing, and you're there you are. Well, this is universal. This is a universal image too,
Yes.
because there we are.
Yes.
Each of us. We're each in this quantum flux, whatever the hell it is that we reside in. And we have things along that help us orient ourselves. The prayer flags. Now, if you're a Buddhist of any stripe, Tibetan Buddhist, whatever, there are certain principles that are there, that are involved. You live by these principles, and this is how you can orient yourself. And so you're looking out.
and even like it's also like a nod to our ancestors.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
oh yeah, they're all there.
yeah,
They're always there.
yeah.
Can't get away from them.
But we can live our lives.
Well, that's right. We're
And
allowed
it's
to
a
live our
balance.
lives because they
Yeah.
did, because everything is always moving. Well, we don't know if it's forward or whatever. It's expanding.
In flux.
Yeah, and you can't get away from it. So
Yeah.
we're always pushing the boundaries. Every day you wake up, you're pushing the boundary of that day. It's a mystery. It's a total mystery what's going to happen next today. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing, or it's a learned thing to be comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're not so comfortable, and sometimes it's okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes you reach this place where you understand something. You say, I understand that now. And there's still things that still puzzle me, or like I'm never going to figure that out. But it's all there.
Courage, hope, faith,
Discovery.
discovery. My favorite thing.
Yeah, and it should be our favorite thing.
Yeah.
But cool. All right. Lettuce.
3 ending images. This is one.
Yeah.
So when I'm not doing art,
Yeah.
I find other outlets. So I grew these
Oh, cool.
in my old garden, and it just makes me feel so good when
Oh,
I
yeah.
can successfully grow food that I can eat. And for me, this was really huge because some of them did come back from seed the previous year, so that was
yeah.
a thrill.
Yeah.
And also, I really liked them, especially the burgundy one.
Yeah.
I ate them a lot. Yeah. So for me, this was just such a win-win all the way around to garden and harvest at the right time.
Right.
Still seed collecting, and it just felt really good to be just a part of the whole system of life.
It puts you in harmony
Yeah.
with the whole
Yeah.
cycle of life. Yes.
Yeah.
And that I think, I don't know. It could be why we spend so much time gardening, because we have to. I mean, we have to have food, but at the same time, it's a creative exercise.
Yeah.
Get these little tiny seeds. Everything is in this little seed. I keep hearing that in various nature shows. Everything is in this little seed.
Right.
You say, and it takes a minute for you to kind of, your brain to say, it's all there. All the potential of this plant is in this little seed, and you put it in the right environment, and it wakes up, comes to life, and there you go.
And
So-
it's a potential
Wow.
that is ongoing.
Yeah.
And then you think about yourself. The same thing. Then we think about the universe. And if you learn about the universe, how
That's
it is expanding all the time.
Right.
It's so beautiful.
And it's all kind of this little tiny seed. It all comes from that. And whatever's in that seed that, and those cycles can go deep within. The little, all that little protoplasm or whatever's in that seed has all the things that are necessary for life to start moving. And it goes inward as well as, it's an inward journey and an outward journey. Because you can get, like I say, you can look at that seed and you think, well, how does this thing work?
Yeah.
What? It's just a seed. How does this work? Well, it's created to work that way.
Yeah.
We didn't have anything to do with it, but we can look and think, holy cow, that's really cosmic. It's cosmic. Everything is cosmic. Come on, everything is cosmic. We know that.
You figure at some point, seeds had to been a form of trade. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Like money,
Oh yeah.
right? Because they are the value of everything,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Life
Oh, absolutely.
is in a seed,
If
yeah.
you had a surplus of rice or a surplus of wheat back in the Middle East, way back in the day, you're trading, for someone who needs seeds, and you had, that's yes, of course,
Yeah.
yeah,
But it's so powerful when you think about it. It's just amazing.
it is.
Okay, so the final 2 slides. So
Oh,
I love flowers.
Oh.
I love nature.
roses.
Yeah.
That's the one plant I can grow and not kill.
I know, right? They're so good to you.
My brother and my grandmother. My brother inherited my grandmother's green thumb. He can make stuff grow out of solid concrete. Me, everything I touch dies except the roses. I don't know. It's just, I'm just not entirely in sync with the whole growing
Yeah.
world, except for roses. I have a
Yeah.
whole bunch of different varieties in my yard, and because I just love looking at them.
Yeah.
They're just like,
Yeah. So I love,
this is the tangerine one. Oh man.
it smells so good.
Yeah. Oh.
I love the up close images. So whether it's a rock or whatever, I'm generally right with my
Yeah.
macro lens, and I'm getting an up close image of it. So up close, I've got my rose. That's what I like to do. I like to be in nature and just to be able to take that with me. Take it in my pocket. It's in my phone. I can look at it
You
when I
can look
want.
at it. Oh,
Yeah.
this is calming. This is peaceful. This is. It's just beauty.
Yeah. And I can't take
There
credit
it
for
is.
it.
No, there's some things that just they're just there and they're presented to you, and you just have to take it
Yep. Exactly.
or not. This is beauty. Here it is. Do what you want with it, but here it is. We're going to do it anyways.
Yes. It's a
Yeah, that's
gift.
beautiful.
And then-
Wow.
I had one last image.
Okay. Oh.
And that is just looking at the little things,
There we are.
looking at the beauty. Like, it could be a weed that you're trying to get rid of, or it could
Well,
just be a really pretty flower and
they're not-
wonderful geometrics.
Yeah.
And it could be hope, a wish,
They're
I
not
love it.
weeds. They are wildflowers of their own sort. And the seeds, I've seen really, really like micro images of those the seed pods. It's really stunning.
Yeah.
I mean, the architecture of nature and the universe is just so miraculous.
It is.
You think about it for even a nanosecond, you think, how is any of this possible? And then it's all created in such a way. What?
And we get so busy, right?
Yeah.
And if you're on a walk, or even you're walking to your car and there's a weed on the side of the road, like, I get pretty excited about it. Like, I just like, oh, thank you.
Well,
like
they
somebody
found-
said hello to me today.
All right, they got a little niche. Hi up there.
Thank you.
And just remember, folks, that dandelions, although we tend to think of them as being invasive and ugly in our middle of our lawns, these are very important flowers for pollinators, for
Yes.
bees, and not so much for butterflies because it comes at the wrong time of the year, but for honeybees. So now there has been for several years this no mow May.
Yes, yes. My dog loves that.
That's when the dandelions come up, and you leave them alone because the bees are coming out too, and they need a food source, and this is one of their early food sources. So, if you're so worried about bees and pollinators and the crash of the insect population, which we should be because it's happening,
Yes.
leave them alone until they're past because the bees need them, and you need them too because they pollinate all the apples and the pears and everything else that we eat. So. Don't forget, we're entirely dependent on this little tiny insect that needs this for food.
It's also a medicine.
Yeah.
It's also a source of pigment.
Yes, that's right. The yellow.
Yeah. And I believe it was my great-grandma's favorite flower because that's what her children would bring to her.
Yeah, little. You could pluck them up and a little. Hi, here, Grandma. Here, Mom. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, thank you very much, Lucinda.
Thank you, Ted.
It's been a journey.
It has.
And you've been really brave of talking about certain things, and I thank you for that. And and so I'm going to remind people now. Lucinda Arnold. She has an exhibition of her paintings here at Easthampton Media Gallery, and it's at Eastworks, 116, right on the first floor. Just wander in. Paintings are on the walls. You're not going to be disrupting anything. And you also are going to be having a reception
Yes.
on April 28th.
No. April 18th.
April 18th.
From 6 to 8.
Okay.
And we have Fiesta Sombria, I believe, with Tony Silva.
Tony Silva.
Is
Yeah.
going to be here performing that night as well.
Yeah.
And it's a free event. It'll be amazing.
Absolutely.
I'm so excited.
Absolutely. So it's April
Yeah.
18th. So.
And my artwork will be up through May.
Right. So don't be shy and don't delay. Get down here. You can come down here anytime to see her paintings. And on April 18th from 6 to 9.
6 to 8.
6 to 8. There'll be a reception for her, and there'll be music and good cheer and good company. So once again, thank you, Lucinda. It's been great.
You.
So from all of us to all of you, I'm still Ted Perch, and I'm still a host of this program. And thank you for joining us on this edition of In Studio, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Open your eyes, here comes a bigger part. I'm seeking to find the answers are easy to read. Face that inevitable.
My parting words would be relax, have fun, and rest easy.
And aloha.
Aloha! Aloha! Thank you.